Hi, Dr. Rob. We
Hey,
have
Tammy.
we have our first question,
Okay.
and as I said to the group here, if you and can you see it, or do I need to put it in answered? I should have asked you. I'm putting it in answered so you can see it. Okay. We will run out of time by the end of this, so if you've got questions, please put them in the Q&A. I'm a recovering porn addict seeing a CSAT. I am 3 months sober. Since puberty, I fantasized about women larger than me overpowering me, either girls 1 to 2 years older than me when I was in school, or older women my mom's age. My wife is thin and my age, late 30s. She knows that I was watching large women dominating men a lot. I also fantasized about some large women in my life. As a porn use was escalating, the size of the women I watched would escalate as well in terms of weight and height. My wife thinks I am hiding my true attraction and preference to women who don't like her, who don't look like her. She's the opposite of a large woman. What do fantasies like this mean? How do I explain to my wife that I don't truly desire these women in my real life? She tells me that if she hears arousal template one more time, she'll scream. So I'm going to ask you, Dr. Rob, not to use arousal template. So whatever word you need to use that's similar to that, please do. So you're muted.
Thank you for the warning.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was, it's interesting to have a PhD in sex because I know things that people might never want to know about. But one of the more interesting things and helpful things I do know is about fetishism. And so I'm not going to say arousal template. I'm going to say simply that there are some things that some people are turned on by and other people are not. Um, but they don't have to be exclusive. So, for example, if I was absolutely fascinated with large-breasted women, that's all I thought about. And, you could say I fetishize, I deeply focus on that. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy other forms of sexuality. It isn't like I'm fully homosexual, fully heterosexual. There's a lot of room in the middle. So it's also about sex. It's not about a relationship. In other words, I might feel an attraction to someone that doesn't necessarily mean that it has anything to do with you. Doesn't mean that I would rather have someone like that or I want to have someone like that. I fantasize about it. It sounds exciting, but that doesn't mean that you are not enough for me, because that is something that I enjoy. So I don't know if this answers the question, but I think I think it's hard, and I would understand this for a spouse to separate these things out, which is you really like that. And since I'm not that, I must not be what you want. Um, that doesn't necessarily connect. I think, what do I want to say? I don't want to say this. How do I say this? Sorry, I'm still just came back from the gym. I'm all revved up. There's an idea of I want to separate addiction from arousal because, I have this feeling about women who are shaped in a certain way, and that feeling and interest is not going to go away, whether I'm acting it out or not in my addiction. Um, People have lots of fantasies that they don't act on and they don't engage in. The question I would say to your husband is, are you attracted to me? And what parts of me you're attracted to? Or, how can we enjoy things that you like that I like? I mean, it's a negotiation, I guess I would want to say. So rather than you don't like me because, or you don't want me because I'm not like that, it's probably more like, how can we enjoy our sexuality together in ways that might turn you on more, in ways that I might feel better, rather than it being black and white? So there's a question. I'm sort of explaining something without answering a question. While I truly don't desire these women, she tells me that you're right. So I think, I think it's about finding peace in your home, which really is, yes, you can have those feelings. Yes, it is part of what you're attracted to, but that doesn't mean it's exclusive. And I think especially for a betrayed spouse, when you've been going out over and over again for something else, it's very easy and understandable for a spouse to say, well, you went after this and this and this, so you must not want me. And that isn't necessarily true, even from an addict perspective. In other words, I hear spouses say, if you loved me, you wouldn't do this. Well, I love you and I do this because I'm really broken. And so there is an and rather than an or that I think is missing from this question. I will say that it's probably not going to change. This, when someone says since I was 11, since I was 20, that's not going to change. That's fixed. So the question is, how do you negotiate it? How do you engage it? How do you have fun with it? How do you integrate it? Yeah, and I don't think there are other ways to look at it that I'm aware of. Tammy, I'm probably not being as straightforward as I need to be. My
No,
brain is a little too much
and no, it's
oxygen.
okay. You can't have too much oxygen, but I get it. And, I was thinking, that is a complicated one. And I hear, I don't want to hear about arousal tempo one more time. I don't care about that. I care about how hurt I am and feeling that I'm not, of your attracted style. It's interesting. We have a webinar this Thursday with Debbie Allen hosting, and she has a client who's a betrayed partner who for a living is a model, so has a certain look that is, paid for. And she will be talking about, I didn't get to hear it yet. So she hasn't talked about it yet, but her goal in sharing is to share how it affected her, like this beautiful woman, and how it in fact affected her from the standpoint of that she wasn't enough, even though she's a model for a living.
Right.
So like this isn't just an isolated case. This is pretty across the board, that it gets, what's wrong with me, or I'm not the right kind, or if I did. And we know, I know lots of betrayed partners who have had, augmentations and things like that to try to look like whatever it was. And not knocking surgery. I'm like there's no judgment here, but at the end of the day, even what they did was, didn't make it all better. That it wasn't about who you are. It's about the broken person getting the help that they need in order to do things differently. So I actually love that you shared. It's about negotiating. This is where we are. And with all due respect, great that you're 3 months in. You're only 3 months in, and you talk about this has been going on for a really long time. And so like this is the marathon, not the sprint. So you guys both, I mentioned the betrayed partner work group starts again on November 12th. That will be fantastic. And if you haven't already done so, the Sex Addiction 101, online work group, and or Porn Addiction 101, if all of the acting out has been online, then that's a better fit, and that one starts November 12th. So we have resource to help to support, and each of you for where you're at, and to be able to move forward. So, but again, you stopping the problematic behavior, great. And just the top layer, you're not magically fixed. That's just now giving you the opportunity to do the deeper work, and to have a recovery plan. Okay, Dr. Rob, I'm the betrayed partner, 16 years since D-Day. He's been in shoddy recovery for years, and I really believe it's time for us to draw up our agreement to live as married singles. We otherwise get along, just never had emotional intimacy in our 39-year marriage. Can you give me some guidelines for what this looks like? I know every situation is different, but I can't find any information on this anywhere. You're muted.
I'm nibbling on my apple. I mean, so are they talking about an open relationship where they're friends, they live together, they don't have a sexual life, they enjoy everything as companions, but they go elsewhere for their sexual lives? That's an open marriage, right? Like it, don't like it, believe in it, but that is what that is. Is this what this person is asking, or can you help define
Yeah, no, it
what you
sounds married
think?
singles. So yes, we're living more
Hmm.
as roommates,
Hmm.
enjoy each other's company, may even travel together, but yes, any kind of emotional relationship,
Right.
would be outside that the legal marriage license, so to speak.
Yeah, we never had emotional intimacy in our 40-year marriage. I guess, you know, uh, um, I'd be curious whether that was something you'd negotiating on finding more of outside of your relationship too, in terms of friendships and support and engaging. Um, I'm not sure, and Tammy, you can help me with this, but the idea of shoddy recovery and then us not coming together as a couple, I mean, are those related? Because, in other words, if this person was doing a really good recovery and really working hard and really focusing on themselves, do you think that you would be more intimate, closer? You would, but you've been together all this time and there hasn't been. So, in other words, there's a limit to how far an addict can go over what period of time. If we can just stop acting out, that's like really good. Growing emotional intimacy takes time. So, uh, what this person is asking though is how do I find more information on that? So that's where they're really getting to. Um, Feedback and thoughts from you, Tammy? Again, I'm a little scattered
Well,
tonight. I apologize.
no, but like this is a complicated question, and it's fascinating. So I wondered. So Deborah Doak, DOAK, did a webinar for us in September, and she talked about mediation. And I almost wonder if you guys got together with
Mm,
somebody to do more of a legal mediation. But here's what I really wondered about. Okay, so say you guys are roommates, you're living together, you're married singles. Now, one or both of you start bringing somebody home. How are you each going to feel? Like I would love for you guys to think this through, like, are you, and if you're all good with that and that's all fine or whatever, like, but that would be part of the negotiating is like, okay, you can only go, sleep over at somebody else's house. You can't bring them back into yours. What are what are all of those? But how are you going to feel, if the other person is doing that? So all of this is complicated. You guys have been together 39 years. I also picked up on what Dr. Rob said about your emotional, connections, like I have a tribe of women that are my, great friends, and those are really meaningful relationships for me. And I get a lot out of that. Are there other ways that you can get your emotional needs met without turning to a single status? So I don't know, but I would watch that webinar. It was September of this year. It's on our website. And I just wonder if there's, some tidbits in there that could give you some guidance. I would also be working with a qualified professional, both of you, to make sure, because once you start changing things, it will change things. So you've kind of got an equilibrium, not great, but you've got some stuff figured out. This will change things,
I was just
so,
going
and
to
if
add,
you're both good about it, yeah, go ahead.
one of the things that they teach us as therapists, there are a few therapy school things that I can tell you about. One of them is, big question is, why now? Why now? So why, after 39 years of marriage and him, I assume it's him being in and out the door with his own recovery, whatever that means, and why have you now decided that this is the shift you want to make? Because in some ways, you've had a non-intimate, separate relationship for a long time. What would really change? Would it be, I won't rely on him to be sober anymore. He gets to do whatever he wants, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to focus on it. I'm not going to worry about his addiction. I'm going to live my life. We're going to enjoy each other. I mean, is that what you're talking about? And why did you make this decision now?
Well, she added, not open marriage, just lifelong companions is what that looks like. So, but I'm going, why do you need an agreement if that's kind of where you're already
Right.
at? So,
And I would say, as someone in their 60s who's been married for 25 years, I don't know about, I'm not going to say anything about you, Tammy, but it's not like we have this wild, unbelievable sexual life. And intimacy sometimes is watching, the Great British Baking Show. So it may, I know, right? So I don't know. Here's what I would say. You're looking for something. You're looking for answers. You're looking for more, either for the two of you or yourself. To me, Tammy's idea of mediation, I don't know if you'd hire somebody, but I'd start writing. What are the things I want? What are the things I don't want? What do I want to keep? What do I want to let go of? And literally putting it on paper. And I would ask him to write it down too, and then sit there and say, well, this is what I wrote. What do you think? There is a negotiation. That's the theme for tonight. And are you both in the same place? Do you both want to move forward? And you may say, I don't want to do any of that. I want to be with you. But well, then you'd say, well, you better get to work on it. So I think this question is almost premature, because there's a lot of information and discussion that needs to happen in between making a decision and this question. And you're right, Tammy. I think that webinar is really going to be helpful. I will say that it's challenging as a recovering partner, as both of these partners have talked about on some level, to have your spouse not be completely focused on you or not be focused on you, and you don't want to walk away from the relationship. And that is a really, really tough one. And there are no easy answers to these questions. That's why you can't find information anywhere. Tammy, well, we
there's
should
one
keep.
more piece to this. Hang on.
Yeah.
He keeps promising recovery and then not doing the work. And I
Yeah,
can't keep putting a hope in the
right,
working recovery and have us have a normal marriage.
right,
So this is healthy boundaries.
right.
And Dr. Rob will talk about this too, but it's like, yeah, like no addict changes until the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same. I say that all the time. And what I hear from him is like, he's straddling the fence, and it's painful for both of you. But until there is a negative consequence big enough, and I'm not saying you have to do that, but I bet he'd be terrified if you said, I'm done and I'm leaving the relationship. I'm not, I bet he would, because that would be terrifying for you guys, have some companion. But I also hear, he's not got accountability. He's not really doing the work. So I have an idea for you. Dr. Rob does a one-time 2-hour expert consultation for couples like you who are stuck, who are trying to navigate this space and need some expert, guidance, and and he gives also resources like, this sounds like this would be helpful for you. This sounds like this would be helpful for you. So consider that it's one time. It's not weekly therapy with Dr. Rob, but that's a 2-hour via Zoom. You can email Tammy, TAMI at seekingintegrity.com if you'd like information on that. But that's what I hear is like, you guys are kind of stuck and you've been doing it for 16 years, since discovery.
And my key in on this, Tammy, is that this is a very hurt and disappointed spouse who wants to stop being hurt and disappointed. And well,
Yeah.
if we just have a plan that I don't have to have any expectations that I'm going to get hurt or disappointed, I think that's ass backward. I mean, the thing is that not for you to lower your expectations, but for you to expect more. And if this person doesn't show up for that, I don't think you put it on a contract that, well, you can go do all you want unless you really want an open marriage. But what I hear is you want respect. You want to feel like you matter in terms of his own recovery and it's important to him. My question to you, and Tammy, this is a tough one, is do you matter to you? You have let yourself be disrespected for all this time, and you have let your hopes build up. And God knows we do build up our hopes, but at a certain point, either he's going to shit or get off the pot. It's been 16 years. And as Tammy said, the only thing that will potentially make that happen, and it isn't any kind of guarantee, is when you move into this is not negotiable. I can't live with any of this. There's no way to negotiate myself out of this pain, and I don't want to do this anymore. So whatever that means to you, I don't want you here in the house. I don't want you in my bed, whatever it is. But I think there's what you're looking for. There isn't anything for it because it isn't healthy. You're asking to negotiate an unhealthy situation into a way that you can feel more comfortable. And that's not what we do. We help people go through and beyond their uncomfortable situations. This isn't something like diabetes you have to live with. The addiction, yes. The lying, the manipulation, it wasn't really this, the half-assed recovery, you don't have to live with that part. So anyway, I think I finally got that.
Yeah, well, and one more thing, I'm going like, if you negotiated that we're just going to live as roommates and I'm not going to care, you'll still care. Like
That's
you will
right.
still care. You can't put that on a document of, so our colleague, Stuart Leviton here's another webinar last week, Wednesday. He did one on legal and he talked because he's both a mental health professional and an attorney. And he wore both hats. And he said, anything you're looking for a legal document, which an agreement is or a contract is a legal document to do that's of an emotional nature, you will always be disappointed. The law and legal is not good at emotion. So I think the real thing is, what is your ultimate goal with this? And if it's not to hurt, then this is more about what do you need to do for support for you. I did put the Empowered Women's Retreat, amazing and healing, and we don't talk about him. This is all about internal boundaries and how do I hold space for myself, and the anger work, like all of these amazing things. So that is we're more than half full for the January retreat. So I did put the link in for that. So
I guess I
okay.
want to say one more
Yes.
thing. There's seeking to avoid pain, and then there's seeking joy and happiness. And I
Yes.
go for seeking
Yes.
joy and happiness. Seeking to avoid pain is just that. It's kind of it's getting by emotionally. And I want joy. I want to feel not every day, but I want to feel good. I want to at least know I'm looking forward to something good. And this sounds like a pain avoidance negotiation. And quite honestly, why are you even together? You could just be friends and be done with it. You want something that is not available to you in the situation you're in. And in order for that to change, you're going to have to change yourself. And then you see what happens. Ooh, Tammy, we're so aligned.
We are.
Do you need a job? I would.
Okay,
Sorry.
next question. We are still in acute recovery for him and betrayal trauma for me. Every week there's a struggle with some sort of integrity issue, from broken promises to a lie to angry outbursts. Most of the time, the last thing I want is to touch him or be touched by him affectionately or sexually. Prior to discovery, we were very affectionate. He's been sexually sober and abstinent for 5 months. There have been a few times since discovery with him that I've reached climax with him and without direct stimulation. When I do desire touch, or I'm not utterly repulsed by him, I feel guilty and kind of grossed out right afterwards, especially if I've derived pleasure from it. I am worried that this is more likely to act out because he didn't have a release. Is it unhealthy that most of the time I'm disinterested in touch with him or from him, but partake in affection when it feels more organic, even though he has integrity issues? He's seeing a CSAT and me an APSAT but just 5 months since discovery.
Yeah, this has come up. I was in a whole discussion about the APSAT phenomenon and some of those issues today with some of the staff. And what I believe is you have to trust your body. And I think you trust your soul and you trust what you feel, and you do not feel safe and you do not feel comfortable. And your body tells you that. Now, the body will respond. This is so confusing. Someone who gets sexually violated, they may also have an orgasm during it. And then they're really confused. How that was so horrible. I didn't know that person. They used me, and yet it was pleasurable. And it's very, very confusing. But the body itself just does what it does. I could be sleeping if you lit a match and put it on my hand, it would do what it does. I'd say, ouch, it hurts. So I think I think it'd be useful to separate what you feel and what is right on a day-to-day basis in the way that you're living from these experiences that are confusing to you. If you don't understand it, don't do it. I would trust how you feel. Um, I uh, I think there's grief here, which is we were affectionate. I get that. You don't feel close to him now. For all the partners, this is a grief and loss issue. You don't want to push us away. You don't want to be distant from us. You don't want to worry whether we're going to hurt you. It is grief for you to have lost that easy affection you might have had before, but you don't get it back in 5 months. And again, I hear a little bit and if you put the sex first and the relationship and the intimacy second, it's not going to work out because basically he's still acting out because there's no connection. And you're confused. So, Tammy, I think that there are some free support groups that we have. And you guys know we do 14, something like that, free support groups every week. Tammy, the numbers change, but I think there
The
might be,
numbers change, and I don't have the current count, but it's probably more like 20, but it's okay. So yeah.
you can drop in with other partners, and these are great conversations to have about what is healthy sexuality. 5 months, we are still in acute recovery for him. This is the first thing you said, and acute betrayal trauma for me. So if you said I'm in acute betrayal trauma, what should I do about sex? I would say, as Dr. Rob's famous statement, why would you have sex with anyone you don't trust? And you don't trust him. Your body may feel very good and it may meet some of the needs that you're missing for affection and touch, but it doesn't match up with what's happening in your relationship. You get it, you feel awful afterward. There's one more piece here that I want to address. Tim, I'm going to toss it to you. I worry he's more likely to act out because he didn't have a release. Okay. You are never partners. You are never, ever, ever, ever. Did I say ever enough times? You are never responsible for our behavior. You can have sex with us or not. You can gain 300 pounds or nag us all the time. You can do whatever you want, and I can leave you. I can go to marital counseling. I can focus on volunteer work. There are a lot of things I can do with an unsatisfying sexual life or even not having orgasms for a while without saying, oh, well, I guess I'll just go be with other people. The decision to go to another person for sex is mine as an addict. Now, I have lots of ways to blame people. You're at fault. You're angry at me. You don't want to have sex with me. And even in my head, I'm entitled to have sex. I'm going to go over there and have it. Well, I may feel entitled to have it, but going and doing it is acting out. So there is nothing, and the spouses, I'll say it one more time, you can rage at us, you can love us, you can nag us, you can support us, you are not going to stop us from doing something that we choose to do. In fact, we will find reasons to put the responsibility on that and say, well, they're nagging me and blaming me, or so it is not unhealthy. Let me say it in a positive way. It is very healthy that you're disinterested in touch with him. It's very understandable and healthy that you want more affection and it can come about in an organic way. This also brings up ambivalent love, Tammy, which is that, this is crazy making for spouses because, today I look at you and we're watching a movie, we're holding hands, and I just feel like all that affection we've always had. And then I think about what you did to me, and I can't believe I'm even the same room with you, and I want to kill you. And going through both of those things is very, very difficult. What I like, honestly, is that you have some, it doesn't have to be black and white. You can have affection and care with someone you're also struggling with and in pain. You don't have to push them away because you feel that's the right thing to do. But what's missing here is a boundary. There's a line missing. And Tammy, could you talk to her maybe about what a boundary might be for her or what a boundary looks like? Because I'm thinking that's a good one for you.
Well, and I put the betrayed partner work group because honestly, healthy sexuality, communication, boundaries, all of those are components of the online work group for partners that starts on the 12th of November. And I know this is just a snippet, so I don't know, but if the only thing he's doing is seeing a CSAT, that's 50 minutes once a week compared to a 24/7 addiction and compulsive behaviors and all the underlying issues. So if that is all he's doing, then yeah, that's just abstinence, and that would be very difficult to get any traction with change. If he's doing more, like he's doing our online work groups, he's doing our drop-in groups, he's going to 12-step meetings, fantastic. And I know, like I said, just a snippet, but that was one of the things I was suspect of. But that online work group for you could be really helpful. And we do talk about healthy boundaries, and I, including in the Empowered Women's Retreat, we talk about internal boundaries. What I'm holding a boundary for myself about, that I'm not going to dishonor me, I'm not going to dysregulate myself. And then the external boundaries, physical is, I get to decide if somebody touches me, they have to ask permission to touch me. If they, and this is not punishment, this is not about control, this is my body. And like Dr. Rob said, this is my body. I need to take care of myself. He didn't, and so if the boundary is crossed, then what is the consequence? And the consequence is then I'm not going to be close to you, and you are going to sleep in another room. You may be sleeping in another room already. I mean, that's a healthy boundary for physical, initially. I mean, whatever it is. And I don't know what is, in his inner circle, and I don't know, like, how long you waited to have sex or whatever. What I care about is I feel repulsed. That's a physical reaction after you have what was enjoyable in that moment, and now you're repulsed, and you're probably repulsed at him. And also, the internal boundary would be that I did this and I wasn't ready. My body was telling me it wasn't ready. You can have sex with yourself. You don't have to have sex with him. So you can take care of you. Like, it's all good. And there's lots of ways you can do different things. But this feels like perhaps back it all up, especially when you, like Dr. Rob said, you're talking about acute recovery. Like, this is early stages, and good that he hasn't acted out for 5 months. But like I tell addicts all the time, you don't get a gold star for not doing what we weren't supposed to do in the first place. Like, we weren't supposed to be doing that stuff. So good that he's on that. I honestly, we're addicts in recovery. We give chips, we're like, yay. And from a betrayed partner standpoint, that's still early in the process. And I go back to, what else is he doing to help him start to show up differently?
I was just going to add very quickly that it's very easy to deprive yourself of touch, especially in these circumstances. You can't get a massage. You can get a facial. You can, if you have the resources to do that, you can sit in hot water. You can do things that leave you feeling self-care and taking care of you. Yes, you know you can't have what you want. Your body is telling you that, but that doesn't mean that you don't deserve touch or sexuality with yourself. Um, but there's grief here, and I think you're going to have to acknowledge that you're going to have to let go of things that you don't want to let go of, but your body is telling you, I don't want to do this. And if you don't listen to that, oh, there was one more thing, Tam, which I thought was really interesting about repulsion. Having sex and then feel repulsed is how many sex addicts feel. I
Oh,
go to
interesting.
massage
Okay.
parlor, I go to the strip club, I have a sexual experience, and then I think, what am I doing here? Why did I do this? Because all the neurochemistry, the excitement, and the arousal is over, and I realize what I just done, and now I'm back to being home late, and I didn't use a condom. So, and I hate myself and how. So I just think it's an interesting opportunity. Never thought about it till like for you spouse to understand how we feel after acting out much of the time. I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to do it. What was I thinking? I hate myself. And yeah, it just like really struck me that I hear that all the time. Why did I do it when afterwards I feel so bad about it? That is very typical for a sex addict. For what
And
it's
then
worth.
all you partners are going, then why didn't you stop? And because, like, that's what that would be so easy to go, oh, that was horrible, I'm not going to do that again. And that's not addiction. So the
Well,
cycle of
that's not the
addiction
part.
we talk about. Right. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Ted, that's not the part I remember. When I want to go,
Exactly.
When I want to go drink, I don't remember the DUI that I had 3 years ago or that I brought my kids to school and I just want to have the drink. And we only think as far as the behavior. So one of the things I did when I was sponsoring people, supporting people in 12 step, is they would call me and say, I want to act out, I want to go do this and that. And my simple question was, well, what are you going to do after and how are you going to feel after? They never thought about that. What they thought about was how exciting it was going to be in that moment to get there. They forgot about what it was going to. And you all know this. Haven't you ever dated someone you just thought, oh, they're so wonderful, and then you had this horrible time, and then 3 weeks later you're thinking, oh, maybe we should spend time together, and you kind of forget how bad it was. It is a human thing, but it's problematic when it's acted out in addiction. So, and by the way, Tammy, I'm heartbreaks with these stories
Yes.
because all these people want us to love each other. That's all they want, and it's really, really sad. And you're here, you're trying to get there. So,
Well, and there was affection. We were really affectionate, but it was also this facade of we were affectionate, but he was only showing you that in the moment. You didn't know all of this other stuff that was going on. It's very dysregulating for partners of like, you know, but you showed me this affection and now I understand that none of that was,
who knows?
yeah, was safe even, so
But that's another grief issue, which is
yeah.
I thought that we had this, and now I don't know what we had. And so I have to grieve what I thought was, I don't know what it was, but it certainly wasn't what I thought it was since you're out there doing all this other stuff. Um, yeah, I feel the sadness in the room for some reason. Let's keep going, Tam. What you got?
Okay. I'm the PA 6 months post D-Day, married almost 25 years. I'm in SAA with a sponsor, going to a CSAT group therapy and a partner sensitive CSAT couples therapist with my wife. She feels that she's stuck and not moving forward. She's not going to any other therapy or groups. I'm worried for her, but she says if I ask her about her recovery, she feels that I'm trying to control it. How can I help her? That's a loaded one.
I'm going to let you start.
Well,
Why do you think it's loaded? Why don't we say that for you?
because if he brings things to her now, it's going to be more I'm bringing things to you. So
Hmm.
so to me it's almost like, and I share this with betrayed partners who are trying to reach an addict. It's like, I vision a journey for us, and right now we're stuck. And I hate seeing you hurt, and I know that my behaviors hurt you, and I'm wondering if there are some options that you would be willing to consider that would help you be able to work through this. Now, I go to our Empowered Women's Retreat. The women look different from the night that they arrive until the night before they leave. Honestly, like the ability to move forward, move through. It doesn't mean everything is all better, but they are back in their bodies. They are, they've processed through things. They're in a tribe of other women. Like a lot of that is not having support. It is so lonely. If the only thing she's doing is couples therapy with you, she doesn't have any individual support. So it's a very lonely place if you're the betrayed partner and trying to do this on your own with a couples therapist. So that was why I was saying it was loaded. Now, if she's willing to watch the webinars, we've got lots of webinars that talk about how important it is for self-care and support, for betrayed partners. And so there's an opportunity for that too. But like you can't make her, like, you can't make anybody do anything. You can share, that I really, I envision this journey for us, and if this is how it is, we won't be able to be connected. I will share one more thing before I turn it over to Dr. Rob. Dr. Rob and Dr. Stan Tatkin did a podcast in January of 2019. It's probably the one I share the most often. We do. And that's in a healthy relationship. This is how we navigate coming together. And so, yeah, it may be that she is willing to go get some help for herself, support, not, for herself, because she envisions a healthy relationship. You're both better off. You're healthier, happier. Like all of this good stuff happens if you're in a healthy relationship. You can't be in a healthy relationship if one of you, either one, is stuck in a painful place. And so navigating the gap, as I call it, can be really helpful. So we've got somebody, if she's willing, we have a support session, 25 or 50 minute, for her. If she's like, it's not therapy, we just listen and we provide resources. Those are low cost. And, myself and three of my colleagues, offer those. And lots of people are complimentary about the help they receive on those, so that's just another option. But this is one of those I'm going, focus on you. You can express even in the couples therapy that you're concerned that you aren't going to be able to be as close as you would like to, but you're going to keep working on you and hope that she's able to meet you on that path.
I'm going to offer a slightly different perspective.
Please.
I'm writing a whole bunch of stuff down. So first of all, not doing something is doing something. The fact that she is not doing this, it tells you something. And
Mm,
this is probably not someone who doesn't want to improve their relationship. This is not probably someone who doesn't want to grow. But this is someone who you said I'm worried for her, but she says if I ask her about her recovery, she feels like I'm trying to control it. You are. It's not your responsibility to tell her what to do or where to. In fact, if I were her, I wouldn't do it just to piss you off. Because after all you did and blah, blah, now you're telling me I need to go. And you know what? I might, but I ain't doing it for you. So what I hear is a little bit more like, I'm not going to do anything to please you. I'm not going to do anything to make you feel better. Um, and I'm certain, and you think you're worried about me. Well, where were you worried about me? So I hear, to me, there are many people express their anger in terms of not pleasing the other person, not doing something that would make them feel good. And so that's what I mean is no message is a message. I think she's giving you a message, and it's leave me the F alone. Let me take care of myself. And she's right. You have enough to do. 6 months you've been working on this,
true.
married 25 years, 6 months. I don't think you have a pot to piss in terms of asking her what she needs to do. And, I agree with Tammy. Couples therapy might be, as we say in my field, contraindicated because that's not what she wants to do. She doesn't want to really be, basically, she's saying, no, no, I would listen to that. In fact, I would ask her, do you really want to be in this couples therapy? So, let go. You can't fix it and you didn't create it. By the way, this is another mutual opportunity for spouses and addicts, because this is usually a spouse's question, which is I'm trying to get him to go to meetings and I'm trying to get, and he doesn't want to, and he should do more for his recovery. And the therapist said he should, but he isn't doing it. And what do we say to the spouses, Tammy?
You can't make anybody do anything.
Right. But you can take care of yourself. And one of the things that I was going to say to you is you get to move forward in your life. You still get to be happy if you're doing your work. You get to enjoy friends. You get to move out of your self-hatred. You get to become a stronger person. She may be sitting on the curb watching that and saying, well, maybe I want to get on that parade, but it's not going to be by your telling her or asking her or demanding anything of her. You need to focus on you. And then maybe she'll decide that's something that she wants to be involved with or not. It also may be too early. You have known about this problem for a very long time. She has not. So she's just coming to terms with her whole world having collapsed on her. You realize there were problems all along, and now you're eager to get to work because you don't want to feel shameful or guilty and you want to be a better person. She's still got a house sitting on top of her. So it may be a little early to have expectations of her when you have been lying and cheating for 25 years. Just a thought. So what do we say, Tammy? When one finger's pointing at you, there are four pointing back at me, or something like that. I don't think this is this is not a time to go like this. Not at all. Leave her alone. I love you. There's anything I can do for you. Let her be. This is not working. Stop. And by the
Well,
way, it
and
becomes
go ahead.
abusive at a certain point where you say, "Well, I'm doing this, and you're not doing this, and I'm working on this." And she didn't create the problem. And she probably doesn't feel responsible for fixing it. And that's kind of what you're asking her to do. So I'm sorry, Tam, I interrupted. You were going to say something. This is a good.
No, yeah, it's a great question, and that's a great point of view. I forgot about the 6 months because yes, if we talk about recovery, takes 2 to 5 years, and so you are like in the very early stages of that. And so yeah, focusing on what you need to do for you. And I'm with Dr. Rob. We do not recommend couples therapy early in the process, and until there's a solid path. If it's working for the two of you and that's both of you, then great. But otherwise, that is contraindicated. And often I hear from partners that they are finding it not helpful. They don't feel aligned. They feel like the therapist can be even taking the addict side. So you doing the work
Yes.
that you need to do, and let her have her space. We have support resources if she's open to it. But yeah, really good catch on the, like, she's telling you what she won't do. So
And she's giving you a very strong message. You're just not listening. By the way, the part that would be confusing to me is the therapist saying that your wife is stuck, she's not moving forward, whatever that is. I don't know the therapist, but I would say we have the saying, another thing they teach us in the therapy field, be where that person is. So rather than my thinking, oh, she needs to be doing whatever, I need to look at where is she right now? What is she feeling right now? It's not my job as a therapist to push people to do things they don't want to do. I can encourage, but what I feel is like some judgment here. Maybe she needs to be stuck. Maybe she doesn't want to move forward. Maybe she's trying to figure out if she wants to leave. So this idea that she's supposed to work on herself so you can be closer, and she maybe have no interest in that whatsoever. So she's getting a lot of judgment for not being where other people think she should be. I would also shut down and not want to do anything. So I'm not. I don't think it's about her. I think it's about how everything around her is giving her information that she's doing it wrong, and she isn't doing it wrong. She just is where she is, and it needs to be respected. So there you go.
Yeah, and fair point. Like he's known all along that he was doing this, and we talk about, the Mack truck hits them at Discovery, and so yeah, to expect that. Oh, now 6 months later, I'm poof, I'm all magically better, and no, like a year,
Well,
2 years, maybe she'll start being able to trust that you're different than you were before the Mack truck hit.
we feel better. So whew, it's all out and it's on, and now I'm not keeping
Yeah. Oh
secrets. And
yeah.
and why aren't you glad that you finally know everything? I've heard that. Okay.
I'm the betrayed had a full therapeutic disclosure a few years ago and then later discovered was full of lying and strong omissions, like forgetting to mention a long term affair partner. My spouse and I separated and remained separated and living separate for about a year and a half. They have expressed a desire to reconcile, and I am interested in at least trying. Most of the time, he understands everything I need, like a truthful disclosure, but occasionally, especially if I note that I'm spiraling or confused, he accuses me of living in the past. Could this characteristic of early sobriety recovery, or does this mean active addiction?
Tammy.
I, I don't know. Like, I would be more interested in what is he doing in the last year and a half to show you that he is changing, having a little bit of, defensiveness, frustration. Sure, everybody has that. If he's coming back to you going, I'm really sorry, that was not helpful and I want to repair the relationship, that would be different. But otherwise, I'm picking up manipulation and I don't know why, but I'm going like, oh, I want to get back together, and so I'm going to like, you're living in the past rather than I haven't done anything really to repair the past. So,
Right.
yeah, like I just feel like that doesn't feel aligned. And whether he's in sobriety or recovery or active addiction, I don't know. That would really be up for him to show you what his, what is he doing on a daily basis for his recovery, and trust your gut. Honest to God, trust your gut. I hear this question and I'm thinking, like my gut's telling me manipulation. I don't know what your gut is telling you, but I'm going like, this feels like I'm trying to manipulate you into, let's get back together again, and oh, forget about all that stuff, and oops, I made a mistake on the disclosure, but don't live in the past, let's just think about the future. That feels very addict fantastical thinking.
Yeah, this reminds me of the last question in a way, which is the addict saying, Why are you acting this way? Why are you doing it that way? And I don't, how can we move forward if you're like this? And, you are where you are. And when you get close to someone, there used to be a saying, love brings up everything other than itself. Um,
Hmm,
love brings up everything other than itself. And what it means is
that's
you see,
interesting.
you know, you you get the I don't even want to create a metaphor for it. When I love, I feel scared. When I love, my trauma issues come up. It doesn't mean that the love is tainted. It just means that getting close brings up all kinds of issues for us. What I don't like here is that you're being blamed for what you're feeling. Um, and what I wrote down is um, he feels guilty, and so he's blaming you for not leaving him off the hook. Why aren't you? It's been so long. You've been doing this. What do you mean you're still upset about it? I've told you how terrible I feel about it. You see how hard I'm working. We've had a separation. I hear a little bit of when are you going to get over this in this? The truth is you haven't even lived together for a year and a half. So you're way far from getting over this. I was thinking like maybe you could go out for a walk together. Like, reconcile is a very long way down the road. Maybe you could, I don't know, play. You could go out with your grandkids, your kids, and play ball. I mean, there are things that you can do that build intimacy without reconciliation. And I also, intimacy is a little bit at a time. It's a little, you don't just intimate with someone or you're not. You don't trust someone or you don't if you're healthy. It's little teeny pieces at a time. And what I hear this person say is, I want the whole kabobble and I want it back now. And why are you holding us back? And I think you could counter with, I feel uncomfortable when we spend this much time together, or I feel uncomfortable when you're over, but I feel comfortable with us going for a walk. I feel so you can move in that direction without feeling this pressure and this blame and this, he wants something and he's trying to figure out how to get it from you. But I think there's a little guilting and shaming going on, which typical addict behavior because he's not getting what he wants. But you can still want the same thing without moving at his pace. You have to take care of you and do what you need to do. Just like the person with the sex, it's like, my body doesn't feel comfortable. Listen, you can go slower. You can hold hands. You don't have to go all the way there. So, Tammy, I think part of the issues that, I mean, the ones I'm hearing is we don't want to feel this way. We don't want these things in our lives, whichever sort of side we're on. We want it to get better. And on either side, we're running really fast to try to make it like it was or better. And you're in a whole new ball game here. It's a whole new deal, and you don't know this game. And it's going to take a long time to learn it as a couple, especially when you've been together such a long time. So I wish I had easy answers, Tammy. Wouldn't that be nice if we just had easy answers? I
Um,
want a magic
in a
wand.
really, I know, yeah, my wand is broken, but this is really complex stuff, and so there are no easy answers, and it's unfortunate because we hear often of people that are trying to do the quickie fix of, like, well, if I just, I'm going to go do this little quick, you know, workshop, and then I'm going to be magically better, um, or see a non-trained therapist and thinking it will be better. So it's like one of those things where like this is I say it's a marathon, not the sprint. This is a lifelong, we have addictions. They are chronic conditions. And, we on a daily basis do what we need to do so that we don't act out and go, backwards. So having that kind of focus, and it can be exasperating for partners in particular, both addicts and partners. But if you go like, if I'm seeing some progress, like that can give you hope that yes, change is happening. So.
I wanted to jump in, if you don't mind, Tammy. The person
Mhm.
who wrote about that the therapist was saying the wife had not gone quickly enough, wrote another note and said, my wife is saying she's stuck, not our therapist. And my answer to if my spouse said they were stuck, I would say, gee, I'm really sorry. Is there anything I can do to help you? I wouldn't say, well, you need to do this or you'll feel better if that. I don't know if you know this, but maybe she just wants to feel heard. Maybe she wants you to empathize with how hard this is for her and how stuck she feels. Men in general want to create an answer. Women often just want to be heard. And we're like, well, that's great, but go do this. And you're like, but wait, I'm not even halfway through it. This is how men are. We are solution seekers. We get there, we're done. And I'm generalizing. Women tend to want to be more heard and understood. And you're more affiliative than we are. So I don't think you're listening to her. I think you're wanting to come up with answers for her that she may not want. She may just want you to hear how stuck she feels and how hard that is for her. Yeah. Um,
Well, and to
before,
add to that, like it's one of those, like she's accepting you where you're at in your brokenness. So, like, please, give her the respect to respect where she's at on this process. This is a continuum. There's, this is not flipping a switch and now, oh, we're both all better. And, I've had partners that have said, I want to go back to what we had. And I'm like, no, what you had was lies and a facade. And like, so like it was easier because you didn't know, but it wasn't real. And so if you guys are willing to do the work, you can have what is real and deeper and more meaningful, but it's work. Okay,
Tammy, I just want to say there's something I wanted to say something when we get to like
please.
3 or 4 minutes to the end of the hour. No, I just wanted to cap
Uh-huh.
off with something so we can go answering questions. I'm going to stop in 2 or 3 minutes and let's take one more question if that's okay.
Okay. So this one is on any porn site my partner signed up for. His username was always said Dom in it, and it was searching submissives. This is opposite of his demeanor in real life, be it in or out of the bedroom. The time he gets the most Dom like is when he's throwing a temper tantrum or raging with avoidance. Otherwise, he's usually reverting to me to make decisions, answer questions with questions, and has not obliged my request for him to be more forward in the bedroom pre-discovery. Some of his fetishes are barely legal females, the daddy brat dynamic, and boss young employee dynamic. Why is this his sex persona online and in real life his relationship right before me, but none of it translates to our relationship? I did tell him that I'm not into power play, but I'm not into daddy brat because honestly, it's disturbing to me. We are 4 months post discovery and we both have individual therapists and attend groups each week. He's in virtual recovery program as well.
I, I feel like, and Tammy, I'd like your feedback. I feel like there's a question underneath this question. And I'm not sure what that is because there's a lot of description and, and there's also conflating what turns me on and who I am. Just because I like to watch movies that involve people, murdering each other and every Halloween's a joy for me, doesn't mean I want to go out and murder people and I'm that kind of person. So, or I want to cause any harm at all. So these are separate arenas. Just because someone enjoys something in one area doesn't mean translate into that's who they are. But that's an easy answer. That doesn't really answer what's underneath, which is I don't something like am I attractive to him? Or and then there's a barely legal piece, which is a whole other issue. But why does this matter to you? Why is this important to you? Other than what we heard before, which is, well, if that's what he's into, that's not who I am, or that's not my thing. And I need to know, I never expected it, never suspected it, considering who he is. Now I know this, and what does it mean for me? So I want to. Can you go a little deeper in this, Tammy, or do you have thoughts? Because I'm a
Well,
little.
my only thought was like, I don't like the role that I'm being put in because it's always on me. And so that's what I was reading is like,
Can you
it's
say more?
always on me to, to take the initiative, to be in the, power play or whatever. And I don't want to do that. I want it to be, more of a partner relationship where, if we're going to act out something, we're making it up together or we're taking, like it's your turn to do it or whatever, So this feels like it's a responsibility always on this partner. And then confusing because but he does this like on his porn stuff, this is what he's showing up as, so why can't he do that with me? It goes back to the why can't he do it with me?
Well, I think it's a she. What's I like about this is I am into power play. I'd like to do this, but I'm not into being like a 17-year-old. I'm not into this daddy brat thing. And so I don't know what barely legal really is in this situation. I can't speak to the how profound the challenge might be or how profound the problem is. But if it's little schoolgirl and teacher, those are pretty typical like fantasies for men. So um, to me, again, we're at negotiation, which is how could we figure out how to make this work together? And questions. I would want to know, what does this dynamic mean for you? Have you talked to him about it? What age group are you interested in? What I mean, it feels like there's a lot of questions about him, but I don't know that you're asking them. I don't know if you're asking him. So, what happens when you do bring this up? Do you discuss this? Does this come up in therapy? Because to me, these are things that I would suggest if you're not talking about them, you should be. Um,
It sounds like he's at it sounds like this has been asked and he just reverts, so but anyway.
Maybe he doesn't
but
know.
but this to me would be, yes, talking about it, he's in, you're 4 months post discovery and you guys are a long ways like,
Yeah.
and we talk about the why, and like the why is kind of irrelevant, like at this point you are in the how does he not keep acting out and what do we need to do to move forward, and some of the whys, who knows, like who knows, on some of that stuff. I understand that it's disturbing to you, and that may be something you guys can deal with, but that's probably a few months at least down the road. Right now, what are you doing to make sure that things are safe, and are you in a place where you want to be physically intimate with him, like that may be like, I'm not in the, I'm not ready to do it, like the previous question.
And how do I get him to stop doing this? But can I become what he wants, and then he won't do this anymore? I wanted to say something, Tammy, real quick, and I don't have enough time to say it, but I've been doing this 30 years, longer than almost anyone in the field, except for a couple of people who are very old, and I'm disturbed right now because I'm seeing my field go in a direction that I don't like, and that is this idea that addicts are being demonized that we are sex offenders, that we are unredeemable, that we need to be treated like the enemy. Um, I don't, and this came up with one of my therapists. There are some therapy training groups, there's some online support organizations, there's a number of places that come at the work from this direction. There's two reasons I don't like it. One is I think when you tell an angry person that they should be angry and they have every right to be angry, they should be more angry, and not that your anger shouldn't be validated, but when they play into your anger, I think that's using you. I get you come to my groups more, you pay me more money, you attend when I tell you what you want to hear, which is they're unredeemable, they'll never get better, you're ruining your life. Of course, all those things are true, but I believe in redemption. I believe in redemption. I believe in healing, and I have faith in this process. And when you say to someone, you know, um, they're not going to ever be a better person, or you have to understand you're dealing with this is who you're really dealing with, or this is just like a child offender, or I don't see how that is helpful. Have your anger, work with your anger, deal with your anger, be angry, but labeling and judging beyond the issues that we look at, the addiction piece and our emotional issues, um, putting people in a place where that's who they are and they will never change. I don't find that very hopeful. And what I see is not everybody, but I see people learning to love each other again. I see people understanding that they are so much more together than just this, and that this is something to work through and work on that they didn't know was there. But it doesn't mean that I don't know how to say it, Tammy. I get frustrated and there are therapists being trained to take sides. That's a word, take sides. I'm not interested in taking sides. I'm sorry you're so screwed up, and I'm sorry that you've been so deeply harmed. Let's help you both heal and move toward each other or away. I'm not interested in taking a side. But when I hear, well, you have every right to consider them to be unredeemable, I think that's a therapist predicting an outcome that they don't really know about. And so, with all sincerity and kindness, I've trained most of these people. Yeah. I've been doing this a lot longer, and I believe in healing and redemption, and at least putting your toe in the water and seeing how it goes, but not reaching conclusions about what's going to happen or who this person is based on what has been in the past. So, Tammy, I'm trying to be deliberately not naming or blaming or shaming,
Right.
but
I
I
appreciate that.
really don't like people's anger being encouraged. I like it to be talked about, worked through, understood, but I don't want you to be more angry and more disappointed and less hopeful as a result of the work that I'm doing with you. I want you to see reality clearly without judgment. So I think when you hear, I'll say to all of you, when you hear particular viewpoints that are very strongly, they're this and they're always going to be this, and you need it, I think you need to listen. Can you listen with a grain of thought? Have a bit of an open mind. Remember who this person has been other than this. Remember the life you may have shared. I'm not saying blind yourself, but you've probably seen things in this person that doesn't necessarily mirror what's being said about how their sexual behavior and how it relates to the rest of them. Do you use, here's a quick and dirty. This person's been hurtful, they've gaslit, they've done the things they've done, they've acted out, they've hurt you. But are they universally like this? Are they a good parent, or do they care about their friends, or do you enjoy each other? People are not just their behavior, even the most broken of us. And so, for those of you who are interested, I offer you redemption. I offer you hope. I would not be sitting here, and I don't think Tammy would be either, unless we had the opportunity for healing. If the people in our lives had given up hope, not that they didn't care about us, but they gave up hope because they just thought, well, that'll never get better. The most opportunity an addict has to heal is when loving people that they care about are around them. And I'm not saying that you have to adore me or love me or think I'm wonderful, because I have ruined your life. But I do need you, if you want to be with me, to have some hope for the two of us and for me, that I can be a better person. Otherwise, why do any of this? Why bother? Why not just leave and not come back? You know? So anyway, Tammy, can you just quickly, I don't know what I just said, but it's on my mind. Can you drop anything in there about that before we go?
No, and I agree with you, and I feel like there's certain words and language that are used, and I always think this is going to be harder for this couple to navigate, a repair if they choose to. If they're doing the work, it still will be harder for them to repair. And And I hate it when I hear that, partners just overwhelmingly, hanging on to feeling a victim. We have an empowered like, yes, are the behaviors horrible? Absolutely.
You've been
I can,
victimized.
yes,
Yes.
victimized, exactly. But I love that we called the retreat Empowered Women's Retreat, because we do not want people to be stuck, no matter what he's doing. And I'm using gender, sorry, but regarding what he's doing or not doing, that does not mean that the partner has to stay stuck. Absolutely, grief work, anger work, all of those things. But there's a way to move through this and have healing again, regardless of what he's doing or not doing. So,
And I will
yeah.
say it one more time, and I will keep saying it over and over again, that the opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference. And if you're in the hate mode, you are still in there with them. You're just at the other end of it. I adore you. I hate you. It's all a continuum of connection. I heard a spouse really say, we're getting divorced and I really wish you well. And I hope things, but I don't want to do this anymore. And I care about you. And I hope we can co-parent. And like, okay, that person has no longer in love with that person. They are indifferent. But if you think your rage and your demonizing is going to somehow leave you feeling stronger, it's not. It's just a reminder of how connected you really are to this person. So anyway, I want you guys to do better. I want you to heal, and I don't want you to get messages that imply hopelessness. I've seen too many people, too many couples rediscover each other in ways they never expected. So for whatever that's worth to you, I listen to the good music, and I try to stay focused on that. Doesn't mean I don't hurt. Doesn't mean I'm not angry. Doesn't mean everything hasn't been ruined. It has, but I stick with hope and redemption. And that's just, you know, call me silly, but that's who you know what? I'm
No,
not
it's
silly.
not
I've
silly.
seen
No,
it
no.
and I
Yes,
am
I was
it
going to
and
say
you
we
are it.
witness it exactly,
Mhm.
so that it is not, pipe dreams. This is real for those that are willing to do the work. And and yes, people can get stuck, and if they get stuck and but they're willing to get unstuck, they can move forward. But each person chooses. Dr. Eddie did a webinar back in last September, and he quoted Gabor Mate, and the paraphrase is, "You can't make what happened unhappen." How you choose to move forward is either I'm going to keep re-traumatizing myself on a daily basis, or I'm going to choose to, some one tiny step at a time, to continue to move through this. That's the choice that we have. The hand we are dealt is where we're at.
I want to add one more thing, which is that being angry is a way to feel safe, because what's underneath anger every single time, be a therapist, you'll learn this, but you can also read it in spiritual literature. What's underneath anger is fear and sadness. And to stay angry is to feel safe. I don't have to be vulnerable. It's their fault. They're never this, they're never, but your heart is, you've closed your heart off inside a box. And that isn't healing. That's just shutting down. So I think to take a risk that you could be hurt again, that you could be disappointed again, that this may not work, that you're deeply, deeply hurt and sad, that is where I would hope you are moving toward, rather than, you're this and I'm not, it's just, it doesn't heal. I want healing. So anyway, I will stop. I
Me
could preach
too.
all day, but you and I are in the choir of redemption. I love that word, and I'm going to keep sitting on it. Tammy, thanks so much. It's great to see you. It was great
Thank
to
you,
give you a
Dr.
hug
Ron.
last
Thanks
week.
everybody for, yes,
Bye,
likewise.
y'all.
And thanks everybody for the questions. Bye.